word Mopar, what comes to your mind? Chrysler, the company that owned Dodge, Plymouth, and DeSoto, initially used the Mopar moniker in 1937 when naming its customer service and parts business by combining the terms motor, mo, and parts, par. Well, that is a story for another day. Today, we will talk about the most collectible classic Mopar muscle cars. The perfect car for number 10 is the 1970 Chrysler 300 Hurst. Only the 1970 model year saw the production of the Chrysler 300 Hurst, one of the rarest Mopar vehicles ever made. Just 485 300 Hursts were ever made. The 300 Hurst was propelled by a 375 horsepower 440 cubic inch V8 engine. There was a quick quarter-mile time of 15.1 seconds. This luxury automobile, the Chrysler 300 Hurst, is quite fierce. At number 9, we have the 1966 Dodge Coronet 500. When the muscle car trend reached its peak in 1966, Dodge was eager to join in on the fun. What then did they do? They tossed away all their creature amenities and stuffed the 426 Hemi V8 built for NASCAR into their mid-size Coronet to save weight. The 1966 Coronet 500 is even regarded by some as the original Mopar muscle vehicle. Although 425 horsepower is what Dodge said the 426 Hemi could produce, the actual output is more like 500 horsepower. Good luck locating one of these fierce Mopars. Only 339 of them were produced. All the others will have to do is gaze in admiration. On number 8, we have the 1967 Plymouth GTX. Customers were offered a solid balance of luxurious styling, high-performance driving dynamics, and comfort features in the GTX. Grand Touring Extra. Ford Fairlane and Chevrolet Malibu were among the vehicles the GTX directly competed with, and it outperformed them all with the 426 Hemi V8. The 426 Hemi, as previously stated, probably produced close to 500 horsepower and allowed the GTX to reach a 0 to 60 time of 6.3 seconds. Additionally, the GTX set the foundation for another incredible Mopar that we'll discuss in greater detail shortly. Coming in at number 7 is the 1970 Dodge Charger RT. Seems strange that this is the highest price a second-generation Charger RT has ever bought at auction. Even though the $352,000 this 1970 Dodge Charger went for isn't exactly small change. 1968 is the most sought-after year, with somewhat fewer automobiles manufactured, and the greatest number of vehicles lost to willful destruction in the entertainment sector. It is, however, a pretty fantastic specimen of a vintage Mopar muscle vehicle. The fact that this Charger RT is in amazing shape. It is an unrestored survivor vehicle with only 14,000 miles on the odometer, combines its matching numbers, 426 Hemi, and 4-speed transmission with its other unique features. 56 Chargers were equipped with a 4-speed transmission and 112 Chargers with a Hemi engine when they were brought out of the factory in 1970. Here at number 6, we have the 1971 Plymouth Roadrunner. The only real differences between the Plymouth Roadrunner, GTX, and Belvedere in the late 1960s were their varying degrees of luxury. Given its speed and affordability, the Roadrunner was the basic model and was widely available, but the GTX was more expensive and less common. Only 55 1967 Plymouth Belvedere 2 RO23 vehicles were produced, despite the fact that Belvederes were rather widespread. Many have already attempted to envision a return, and its legacy endures. Though the most valuable of this Plymouth class, one rare Hemi-equipped Belvedere sold for a pitiful $79,500 in 2013, and another, with a $104,500 reserve, went unsold in 2023. One would think otherwise. A 2023 Mecum auction saw a second-generation 426 Roadrunner shatter records when it sold for a cool $500,000. The 1971 Dodge Charger RT is the perfect car for number 5. It was strange enough that the 1970 Charger was the best-selling vehicle of the second generation, but it's much more strange that a third-generation car went for $50,000 more. 1971 saw the Charger get a new body shape that Mopar enthusiasts either adored or detested. Some even contend that 1971 was the final year that was excellent for muscle vehicles in general, not just Dodges. Although 71s were never thought to be as valuable as its previous models, this Charger RT clearly proves otherwise. The standard Hemi engine is present in this high-impact Hemi orange Charger, but oddly, an automatic transmission rather than a 4-speed manual was installed. The sunroof is reportedly what distinguishes this as the most expensive non-Daytona Charger. It's one of just 3 Hemi Charger RTs with a factory M51 power sunroof, which makes it appear a little ridiculous. Undoubtedly, a collector enjoys taking in the sun while achieving a quarter-mile time of 13.9 seconds. At number 4, we have the 1969 Dodge Hemi Coronet RT Convertible. Certain Dodge Coronets are quite uncommon. For example, just 55 of the 1967 Coronet WO23 factory drag cars were produced. Or the 1966 Coronet 426, a 4-door sedan that was only available in one piece. Nevertheless, fans of muscle cars aren't often searching for that many entrance points. Even so, Hagerty reports that the 4-door Mopar sold for $660,000, not the highest priced Coronet. In 2016, a 1969 Hemi Coronet RT convertible with 4 speeds fetched an astounding $687,500 at auction. That may seem like a lot, and it is, but this particular automobile was truly unique and maybe the only one of its type. Out of all the Charger RTs produced in 1969, 20,057 were the Hemi Coronet models, and 10 of those were convertibles. This is the only known Hemi convertible with a 4-speed transmission. Counting down to number 3, we have the 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona. Although analysts estimate the true number of 1969 Charger Daytonas to be 126, Dodge officially produced 503 of them in order to fulfill NASCAR homologation standards. There are currently just 92 known to exist, making it a Mopar rarity. Out of all the vehicles produced, 70 had the 426 Hemi engine, 22 of which had a 4-speed transmission, and only one was finished in T5 copper metallic, such as the one that caused financial ruin in 2023. Actor and comedian David Spade, who used a beaten-up replica of this extremely rare Daytona in the movie Joe Dirt, was the owner of this vehicle. For $900,000, Spade purchased this immaculate, low-mileage Dodge at an auction in 2015. His ownership history seems to have significantly increased its worth, as seen by the $530,000 profit he made when he flipped it 8 years later. Considering that it was the worst color in the Mopar paint code library ever, it's not too awful. The next car is something you should look out for. Before we move to the next car, kindly hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get notified when we post interesting contents like this. At number 2, we have the 1970 Plymouth Superbird. Although it was far less uncommon than its Dodge cousin, the 1970 Superbird was the Plymouth take on the Charger Daytona. While 1,935 are said to have been built in total, according to most sources, many fewer are known to remain. This is 10 times the number of Daytonas that are still in existence. A Plymouth Superbird sold for over $200,000 more than the highest dollar Daytona, despite being more common than the Dodge. The 4-speed Hemi is a valuable Mopar, just like any other. The majority of Superbirds were equipped with the 444-barrel carburetor, 716 with the 446-pack, and just 135 with the 426 Hemi 4-speed. Why did the Plymouth get a higher price at auction while this Superbird, which was sold in the same year as David Spade's Daytona, has the same equipment? The simplest and best response is that limelight green, which is just a fancy term for brown, looks cooler than copper metallic. Finally, at number 1, we have the 1971 Plymouth Hemi Cuda Convertible. While a 1971 Plymouth Hemi Cuda convertible in violet sold for $3.5 million in 2015, more than enough to make it the most valuable Mopar ever. There was another that someone was ready to spend a lot more for. A Winchester Gray Metallic garnered a $4.8 million offer in a 2021 Mecum auction, but the amount was not enough to cover the reserve. Though a car's worth is determined by what it would sell for, not by wishful thinking, the owner had hoped for $6.5 million. Nevertheless, this 426 4-speed convertible is the most valuable vintage Mopar muscle vehicle, valued at around $5 million. It is the most sought-after vintage muscle vehicle ever made. While certain Shelby Cobras have sold for more money than others, they are performance vehicles. The most valued vintage Chevy muscle vehicle is the 1969 COPO Camaro ZL1, which sold for $1,094,500. However, that model is an aftermarket dealer one. This 1971 Hemi Cuda is an actual factory production vehicle. What do you think about the list of collectible cars? Do you think there are some cars that shouldn't be on the list? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. And also, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to get notified for more contents like this.